Welcome to Explain It Like I'm 5. My app is done. How do I deploy it to production? Hey, I'm Eric, and at some point we're done developing, we're done testing and all that good stuff that we do in the sandbox, either a local sandbox or a cloud sandbox. At some point now we're ready to deploy our app to production. And how do we do that? What do we need to consider? And is there any gotchas that we have to think about? That's the content of this video. So I think we might as well get right into it. And here's an app. I think this is an app we did a year ago or something like that on the channel, the point of sale app. So we might as well use that. And I think I somewhere here have my production environment. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to realize is that, we cannot create a let's add a configuration here and say attach to publish to a cloud sandbox, publish to your own server. So a cloud production environment is neither. So we cannot deploy from in here. So what we do is that we actually look at the output app we got here and just clicked on it. So it opened. And the reason is lots of you are always, whenever I do this, how do you do that? I do that because I have this guy installed. Andreas made a fantastic addition to the world of AL programming, and that's just one of the many features you can see here. And I use it all the time. So whenever you click on an app file, you get to see the content. That also goes for the symbols, same thing. Anyway, sorry, sidetrack. So we cannot deploy to a production environment from Visual Studio Code. So we will end up here with an app file. So what you gotta do is that you gotta go into your production environment, and depending on what you're doing, you might want to consider doing this in off hours more than the regular hours, because you might lock certain tables and prevent people from working. So do consider when you're actually uploading to production. Anyway, you would search for extension and open extension management. And here we can see that we have all the apps that are installed here. And I think this one is pretty normal. You see, there's some stuff going on here. There is some apps, and you can see the published as is kind of telling you how did this app get into your system. And if we look at this, we see that because we're in a production environment, normally whenever you are in a sandbox, it will say published as dev, because you have deployed from Visual Studio Code. But you cannot do that through a production environment. So here you got two options. You got global, and global are apps that are pre-deployed from Microsoft. Some of them are, very application and base app. That's that's Business Central. They also app. But then we can see that this one also has Bank of Canada app from eFocus. And so this one has actually been deployed from App Source. You cannot, in here, which is kind of a shame, you cannot see the difference between something that is published, because published as is actually about scope. But it's also about source, and in that aspect, we don't really care about that. From our perspective, we don't care about if something is a per tenant extension, because we only see the world from the perspective of one tenant. So when something is a PTE, well, it's not like we're running multi-tenant in the cloud. Microsoft are doing that, but we can only see one tenant. So the whole that this is per tenant is, it's not global. So it would be nice to see global both as what comes from Microsoft and what has been installed from AppSource. Anyway, not a sidetrack. Sorry about that. So we have our app file. So what we need to do now is go to upload extension. We will select the file, and we will go into project YouTube and find point of sale. We'll find our app file here. Double click on that. And with the introduction of version 19, we got a nice option down here. But until up to this point, you may have to make sure that whatever you uploaded to production, that was fairly stable. So you don't have to like do a force update where you're changing keys and deleting fields and stuff like that. But we can actually do that now by selecting force. So force will mean, since this is the first time I'm uploading, force has no effect. But if I was going to upload an update for this, we'll do that at the end of the video. And that update had a breaking change. We would have to select force in order for the schema to get updated. So you have another option here called deploy to, and this one is tricky. I never use it. Let me put it that way, because I find the trickiness to be too tricky for my taste. Anyway, but let me explain. So deploy to current version. Okay, that's easy enough. That means that we are deploying to now. But we can also deploy to next minor or next major. So next minor is the 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and so on. So right now I think, let's see where we're at. So I think I am on 19.1 at this point. So with that in mind, deploying to next minor would mean that you upload something, and then this is kind of sitting and waiting on that update. The scenario is that, let's say there's some sort of breaking change. So you have tested on your Docker or in your sandbox that has already been upgraded and figure out that there is something in your current code that will not work on the next one, so you have to update it. And then you can use this one, and Microsoft will kind of just store the app and then apply it at the time of your upgrade. The same thing goes for next major. The gotchas in this is that, and I haven't had this a couple of times, you know, the problem with any plan is that, you know, the enemy is also making plans. So I had something sitting and waiting for next major, which would happen depending on a lot of factors, but within the next, you know, a week from now or something like that. I was done and ready to upload it, and then something happened. So in between, I uploaded for the next major, and when that was actually going to happen, I suddenly had a very urgent need to upload something to the current version, and I couldn't. Say, no, there's already an app uploaded waiting for this one. So be aware that there is no cancel function on this thing. So if you upload something, then you have later plan, and that's the plan you're going with. So I only use this if I know the upgrade is going to run tonight or something like that. And then, but worst case is that you would actually, in some case, I would uninstall the app without deleting the data and then uploading the new app when the upgrade was done. But your mileage may vary. I'm not super happy about this one in the current way it works. Anyway, we can select the language. Doesn't really do anything as far as I understand. So maybe somebody can tell me what language means in this case. I have never figured that out. We have to accept it, and then we deploy. And what happens now is that the dialog goes away and we get this message: extension deployment is in progress. Please check the deployment status page for update. Okay, so we'll go to manage and then we find deployment status. We open that and then we can see whatever has happened here. And this screen is very strange. You can see that, yeah, point of sale, upload in progress, snapshot in progress, the pesky bot in progress. So typically the first thing I do when I get into the screen is that I hit F5, just F5, not control F5, not reload up here or anything, just plain old F5. And you can see that, okay, now the other one changed to not found, whatever that means. So this one failed. So what we need to do now, so our upload to production failed. So we'll go click on point of sale and see, this failed. Extension validation failed, view the error detail for more information. So I'll click view detail. Package validation failed due to the following errors. Error PTE 0004, table 757-100 is missing a matching permission set. Whoops. Okay, so you cannot deploy anything to production without your app actually have a permission set that covers the app. And I knew this was going to happen because just before the video I actually removed the permission set. So let me add the permission set back into the app. And let's see what happens here. Permission set, so I think we did permission set. So there's a video on permission sets as objects, which we did in this app. And I think I need to go back and tell that the app is new, the runtime of the app is new enough that it supports permission sets. Okay, so now we have permission sets. So I built the app again. If we're just working inside Visual Studio Code, then you can see that it's actually, it's still the same version number. Depending on how far the app has gone in the upload process, you might not be able to upload version 1.000 again. Because it said that that's already there. Then we have to go back in Visual Studio Code, increment the version number in app.json to something higher and try again. But let's see if we can escape that error for now. So now we're back and we're going to say upload again. I'll grab the file once more and I will accept again. And we are deploying, so now we're going to the deployment status page. And we can see that the top line is again version, let's actually make this wider. So version 1.000 in progress. And now I'm hitting F5. You don't really see anything on the screen changing, but it is refreshing the content. So maybe this will succeed. maybe this will fail. I haven't built in more errors on purpose, by the way, as with the permission. Oh, there we go. Completed. So now our app is uploaded. So I can escape out of this one. I can say point of sale. And we have our point of sale system in production. So that's pretty nice. So, okay, so now we work, and we can probably find it somewhere in the list. Point of sale is right here as a PT, per tenant extension, which is just means that this is not from Microsoft or from AppSource. But what happens now? So now if we make a change, so for some reason there was actually a bug in this otherwise perfect application, because we really want this field to be cash customer number. Right? That was a sloppy caption. So we will build again here, and I can go. Oh, I should stay in extension management. I'll go, and now I will upload 1.000 again, accept. Deployment is in progress. I go to deployment status. No. And that was fast, right? So is it failed already? And we got a new error here saying deployment operation rejected. Error, a different app file with the same app ID and version has already been uploaded to our service. Please verify that the app ID associated to this extension is the correct one. Increment the version number to one that has not been used, or redeploy the package. Which was exactly what I talked about. So because we have already deployed 1.000, we gotta go now into app.json and increment it. So now I'm just incrementing the last thing here. You see now I have two app files over here. And I'll go back to extension management. I will upload the second one. Accept, deploy. Deployment is in progress. I go into deployment status. And be aware that this screen is kind of weird. Meaning that if we just look at this, then clearly we have not deployed the point of sale successfully, because now it says failed 1.000. But because we uploaded with the same version number, we're overriding the deployment line for that version number, so it suddenly changed to failed, even though it was actually completed before. I tried to hit F5 again, and at some point, hopefully, if all the servers at Microsoft will work in sync. There we go, completed. So now we have updated to 1.001. If we go back here and find our point of sale app, it's there, and we can see that point of sale 1.000 is still here. So the app is still published, deployed, whatever words we want to use, but it's not installed anymore. And I could go here and say unpublish. Again, those words are kind of weird, and some of them are a leftover from when Nav was, hey, now this is a multi-tenant application, and the idea that partners would run multiple customers within the same environment as multiple tenants. So you would publish an app to the environment, not the environment, but the server, the total system, and then you will install the app in separate tenants. But you can only install something that has been published to the system. But since we are at this point, all of us, but Microsoft, are working with one tenant. We're never doing any operation that is on two tenants. That we cannot do anything that's on two tenants. So the whole, that's kind of a bit of clarity could be added to how these things are worded, because they are worded based on how NAV 2016 was the multi-tenant version or something like that, how that was constructed and how to operate that. But that's no longer the world that we're living in when we look at it from our perspective. I totally get it from Microsoft's perspective. That's a per tenant, because we can see thousands of tenants. But we as developers sitting out here on this side of the fence, we can only see a single tenant. So it's anyway. So there's some word stuff. Sorry, that was a rant. That was not meant as a rant. It was anyway. So now we published our app to production. We upgraded our app, but let's break our app as the last thing. So let's go back in here and let's find something that'll break. Let's say that this is stupid. Okay, let's say that the cash customer, we don't want customer numbers that are 20. We only want those that are 18, right? And because we are good developers, we remember now to increment our version number. And when working with our sandbox, we know that we can add a command inside the launch station that's called schema update, and they say force sync, and then our changes will go true. But now we have built this guy, so we can go back in and say upload. And we select version 2. So at this point, I'm just incrementing these things manually. There are lots of solutions where you can have a build server running, where you schedule builds, or if you check into source control, then you get a build from source control, and then that will produce an app file that you can grab from storage somewhere and deploy that. Or you can even there are deployment tools. There's one called ELI5 where you can actually schedule and do the deployment automatically. So lots of options for that, but right now I'm just doing everything by hand, manually. So let's check this guy. This is in progress, version 1.002. This is still in progress. And I'm hitting F5 like a madman. Come on, BC, you can do it. This is a very time-consuming process sometimes. I'm not sure how Microsoft are actually doing this. That maybe there's some sort of queue that these deployments go into, because sometimes it's like super snappy and other times it's minutes almost. Anyway, we got a fail here. So view details, deployment fail, could not upgrade the nav extension point of sale due to the following error. Table POS setup. The field cache customer has reduced the length of the data type from 20 to 18. Reducing the length of data type on fields is not allowed. Okay, so, but maybe we actually need to do this. So let's try again. We'll upload 2 again. And this time we say force. And yeah, force is dangerous. You can delete data if you're very careful in how you know, some changes simply does not, some data cannot survive a brute force schema change, and you might lose, if you're changing primary keys, you might suddenly lose records and stuff like that. So be aware that it's generally what I'm showing you now is, apart from you should never have a customer number field that's 18 characters, but apart from that, you should, this is the last effort thing that, okay, we got a force because we deployed something that was wrong, that was stupid, that we need to fix. So that is the way to do it. And let's see how it's going. In progress. Come on, BC. Come on, completed. So now we can go back to the, can't remember if there's a shortcut for that, point of sale setup. And let's open the task, what do we call it? We call it the page inspector. And no, we can't see the field length here. I thought we could, but no, too bad. Anyway, I think that's enough for deploying to production. This is how you can do it, and there's nothing wrong in doing it with like these steps. There are lots of ways that it can be automated, and depending on how often you deploy to production, automation might be a time saver. If you do it once a month, if you do it every 2 weeks or something. Personally, I don't see the need for automation, because it only takes a couple of minutes to do, but your mileage may vary. So let me know in the comments below if you had any issues doing this. Let me know what other topics you would like me to cover in the ELI5 series. I tried to do them sort of sequential, so I thought that deployment to production was kind of the next obvious one, and lots of you guys have asked about this. But let me know what other topics that would be nice to get a really thorough walkthrough of. And then I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay safe. Bye.